prepared to plead to these charges?
Your Honor, we will be standing aside.
What is up, you guys? I'm mysteriously Brittany. Please take the time to follow me, like the video, or maybe even share it. So, that clip you just saw was Bryan Kohberger pleading silent. Okay, now, why would someone plead silent? Bryan Kohberger had the opportunity to make his plea. He chose to stand silent, which forced the judge to enter a plea of not guilty for him. And it's been talked about so much recently why he would do this. It could be that in the background they're negotiating with the prosecutors to come up with a plea deal. It could be that he is just being really difficult and trying to make things hard as possible. Or maybe he doesn't want to choose one or the other because it'll cause scrutiny and more talk about him making him look bad. Well, I personally believe that it's because standing silent gives him and his attorneys the opportunity to challenge the grand jury indictment later. Did you know that Bryan Kohberger's attorney was having Brittany Funk subpoenaed to court to testify on the behalf of Bryan Kohberger if there was a jury trial? Well, now all of a sudden, they're not going to, like, Idaho State goes straight to the grand jury with this trial and has him indicted through the grand jury. Now, why would they do that? Well, they haven't even sent over what they have as evidence against Bryan Kohberger to Bryan Kohberger's attorneys, even though they've been requesting it like crazy. No, still haven't sent it over. It seems like most of the evidence they have is just circumstantial. And then, I mean, yeah, they have him going there, but that's what we're getting ready to talk about here in a second. So, allegedly, Bryan Kohberger in the grand jury, Brittany Funk will have to come and testify on Bryan's behalf. And according to things being said in Moscow by people who probably know a lot more than most of us, 1122 King Road was known as a drug house. And Bryan Kohberger back home was known as a narcotics addict. Okay. And so allegedly, possibly the first floor survivor and her boyfriend, or just a couple, a girl that lived in that home and her boyfriend allegedly sold drugs right from that home. And so if Bryan Kohberger was purchasing narcotics from that home, then of course he would be going there quite a bit, right? And if he was going there to get drugs, about 15 minutes sounds about right, you know? So maybe on November 13th, Bryan Kohberger had been at the home, but it was to get narcotics. From what, I heard the screams on the cops' body cam footage. I can't remember the exact timestamp, but I'm assuming that that would have been when the murders were taking place. Now, Dylan has told us all this stuff, and it's going to be really strange if we find out that Bryan Kohberger had been going there quite often to purchase illegal substances. Everyone that lived there would have seen him many times, right? So also, I want you to think about this. There is no affidavit, no statements from November 13th that come from Brittany Funk. Now, why is that? Also, did you know that Dylan did not make the 911 call? Like I've stated several times, she called over friends before even calling 911. No, she called over friends and then had her boyfriend call 911. Yeah, strange, huh? And again, remind you that the phone call wasn't made until noon. And here's another thing. There are interviews of locals, Washington State students and Idaho State students that were in Snapchat groups and heard about these stabbings and murders at that home all the way up, I think, till 7 a.m. One guy was getting ready for work between 8 and 9 a.m. and he was reading all of these different Snapchat messages in the Snapchat group about the stabbings. So now, how did that many people hear about these murders when the 911 call wasn't even made till noon?
And her daughter knew about the 4 students losing their lives at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, how would her daughter know about 4 students being stabbed to death at 10 o'clock in the morning when the police wasn't called until 11:58. Dylan didn't call the police when she saw the person in the clad black with the bushy eyebrows and the mask. She just shut the door. And there's this question, did she pass out? What happened? A lot of people are suspicious of her. There's just a lot of questions. I'm not saying she did anything wrong at all. I'm just saying there's questions. It's very strange that there's questions. Well, it makes it even more strange when you find out that there are students and even mothers saying, hey, my daughter told me 10 a.m. There's also another college student that has come forward and done interviews that allegedly knew the Idaho home and knew of things that went on there, who was in a group Snapchat with a lot of different...
You wake up in the morning on November 13th. Can you just describe your day?
So I don't remember like exactly when I woke up. I just remember like waking up and opening up my Snapchat, and there were dozens of Snapchat messages in all the group chats. And I just remember like, oh, this is kind of whack. And then like I got up and I was like getting ready for work, and then like when I kind of like woken up a little bit more, I started to go through them because I did not want to have to read a lot of shit early in the morning. And then yeah, I ended up like I was just sitting there scrolling through it, and then yeah, opened up the messages, and then there it was. It was like, holy shit, did you guys hear about what happened? Like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm scrolling up, and there's just, I mean, lines and lines and lines of text. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's awake. I mean, and this is before 9:30 on a Sunday. And I remember that because I had to go to work, and I ended up not going because I wanted to be with my brothers, right? Kind of obvious. But yeah, and like I don't remember what exact time I woke up, but I remember, like, yeah, we were all talking about it. We all knew about it. And like my boss and my coworkers were texting me later, you know, asking me like if everything was okay, and they had even heard about things. They heard like it was a shooting and stuff like that. So and yeah, it was kind of weird because like at the beginning everyone said like at the beginning, like the very first messages where people were talking about the stabbings,
Okay.
or like a stabbing had occurred, and then it changed to an OD, and it was just kind of weird. Like looking back on it, it changed to an OD so quickly, and like nobody questioned it, and like we didn't question it either because we knew there were drugs in that house, and like just genuinely thought like, okay, they got a bad batch, and that's just what happened, right? Because you see it on the news. It happens in bigger cities.
So you said you had to go to work, and you said you had to be to work at 9:30. So this would have happened before, like you got to work.
Yeah.
How'd that
No.
work?
Yeah. No. This was definitely and it was like I don't know, 5-10 minute drive to work, and like I had to like get ready too. So you're talking like well before 9 o'clock in the morning at least.
rumors that somebody had OD'd, because this is another thing. Allegedly, it was a known drug house, which again, college students, college house, it wouldn't be surprising. Okay. We know that Moscow, Idaho is almost 50% college. And one person particularly came forward, and she did different interviews with media sources, and she said that she knew Bryan Kohberger very well, and that she also knew that when he was younger, like in high school, he had a pretty bad drug problem. She actually, I believe, said it was heroin. Like, she said that he was actually quite overweight, and he lost a bunch of weight from using substances.
Yeah, he did use drugs. That's how I really know him too. He was a big heroin addict, and so was I. I got 6 years clean now. I work in treatment and everything, but back then I was using, and so that's how I know for a fact he was using. I've got high with him a couple times and used with him. And
a theory that's going around is that people in the Idaho home were selling. It was known to be this town, again, almost 50% college.
That's crazy. I mean, really, seriously, it's something we need to think about. But again, when you think about Bryan Kohberger going there often, that would make sense, right? And the police saying that he was only there for 15 minutes, that doesn't make sense when it comes to committing the crime that he was accused of. But it would make sense if he was purchasing something that he shouldn't be. I mean, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, I go back to that knife sheath, how I was talking about the little speck of DNA in such a crazy crime scene that was so gory. There's no way that you would not leave anything behind. I mean, I just don't see it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I love you guys. Make sure you're following me, and we'll talk soon. Toodles.